Chosen one, pay attention because the digital trail you left has just changed the game for your enemies. This online image of you exposed a worrisome secret. They know that you are far more powerful and connected than you ever let on. While you were going about your day, someone was dissecting your presence in a room you were never invited into, realizing their plan to suppress you has already failed. The secret is out. You are no longer a target they can manipulate, but a force they are forced to fear. There is something online with your image attached to it that you did not put there. It was not an accident or a misunderstanding. Someone deliberately sat down, used technology with precision, and constructed a version of you designed to be seen by specific people in your life at a strategic moment for a calculated purpose. The fabricated image was built to look convincing enough that the people who matter most to your immediate future would accept it as real before you had any opportunity to speak for yourself. The choice to go digital rather than confront you directly was not random. Your opposition looked at every honest option and found that none of them held up. Honest confrontation requires facts that hold up, and the facts do not support the story being told about you. Direct competition requires comparable ability, and that ability simply is not there. So the only remaining move was to build a fiction. Your opposition reached for technology that exists precisely because desperation found a way to make a fabricated visual convincing enough to damage a real person's real life. Here is what that single decision reveals. The moment anyone chooses to fabricate evidence against you instead of bringing real evidence, the argument has already been conceded. That fabrication is a written confession. It says clearly, the truth about this person cannot be weaponized, so a fake version had to be constructed instead. Think about the weight of that. Every person who has ever tried to take down someone with a lie has implicitly admitted that the truth was not on their side. Your opposition sat down with full knowledge of your actual story, your real choices, your real track record, your real history, and concluded that none of it was sufficient to build a case against you. The only version of you that could be used as a weapon was a version that had to be invented. That is not a small concession, that is a complete surrender, dressed up as an offense. The plan works only in the dark, only before you see it clearly. Right now, with full visibility of what has been done and why, the plan is already halfway dead. Your awareness is not the beginning of your problem. It is the beginning of their undoing. It is worth slowing down on the specific tool that was chosen, because every detail of how this was constructed tells you something important about where you stand. This was not a screenshot taken out of context. This was not an old image cropped and misrepresented. What was built against you required deliberate use of generative AI technology, tools that allow reality to be fabricated convincingly enough to make a reasonable person hesitate before questioning it. The goal was simple: create a visual that the eye accepts before the mind investigates. The image was designed to suggest something provocative. It was designed to cause the people in your world to look at you differently, not with open accusation, but with something subtler and more corrosive. That quiet internal shift, where someone who thought they knew you suddenly wonders if they truly did, is the specific feeling that was being engineered. Social doubt does not need to be proven in order to do damage. It only needs to exist. Once it lives in the back of someone's mind, it quietly filters everything they observe about you afterward, and it does so without them even realizing it is happening. The goal was to contaminate your perception in other people's minds before your actual presence could establish the truth. What was not calculated is this: the same technology used to fabricate an image also leaves a fingerprint. Every AI-generated manipulation carries artifacts, traces that the trained eye can identify and that establish the image's true origin. The digital record does not run in only one direction. What was sent into the world is still there, and so is the record of how it was made. The permanence that was meant to make this attack stick is the same permanence that will eventually expose it. You are not powerless here. You are simply not yet at the moment when everything comes due. And when that moment arrives, and it will, you will already have everything you need, because you kept building while they were busy fabricating. Now you need to understand who actually built this, not a name but a profile, because the profile is one you are going to recognize immediately. This is someone who was once close enough to your life to understand what you carry, close enough to observe how people respond to you when you enter a room, close enough to know which parts of your story, when reframed and exaggerated past recognition, could be assembled into something usable. This person is not a stranger. This is someone with real access to information about you, or someone being actively fed that information by a person who has it. Here is what your opposition is living with right now. Something in their own life is actively falling apart, a venture that refuses to stabilize, a relationship maintained through performance rather than substance, a version of their future that was supposed to materialize by now and has not. When looking up from that wreckage, the view lands on you, still building, still becoming, still attracting the very things that were supposed to belong somewhere else. The gap between your momentum and their stagnation does not register to them as circumstance, it registers as accusation. It feels like proof that a selection was made and the wrong person came out ahead. That feeling did not stay as feeling, it rotted into obsession, and obsession, once it meets desperation, becomes strategy. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. The opportunity being protected against, the connection being sabotaged, the resource being blocked from reaching you, none of it currently belongs to your opposition. It is not something being taken from them, it is something they are trying to prevent you from receiving. This attack is not a reaction to what already happened, it is a preemptive strike against what is visibly coming toward you, against a future they find terrifying. A future in which you have the backing, the platform, and the alliance that would make their ability to interfere permanently irrelevant. Your opposition can see your future more clearly than you currently can. And that clarity is the very thing that has driven them to the lengths they have gone. The fabricated image was not a single shot fired and abandoned. It was the centerpiece of a wider, coordinated effort, and you need to see the full scope of it. Running in parallel to the digital fabrication was a whisper operation. Think carefully about who in your extended circle may have received something, seen something, or been told something, designed to plant a quiet uncertainty about your character, content delivered with just enough plausible deniability that no single source could be identified. The image and the whisper work together. One creates the question visually, the other reinforces it through human delivery, which carries the additional weight of feeling like personal concern rather than a coordinated attack. The targeting of this campaign was deliberate. Your closest people were not the primary audience, because those relationships carry too much depth of real shared experience for a fabricated narrative to gain easy traction. What was targeted was the middle distance of your life, the person who respects your work from a professional remove, but does not know your character at a foundational level. The family member who loves you, but has not been present enough recently to immediately feel the wrongness of what is being said. The emerging connection that has not yet had enough time with the real you to reject a distorted version on instinct. The middle distance is precisely where doubt thrives. The people living there care enough to be affected by what they hear, but they do not yet carry enough direct experience of you to dismiss a lie the moment they encounter it. And here is the move you were almost certainly never meant to discover. Much of what was distributed was accompanied by the suggestion, implicit or explicit, that it should not be brought to your attention. The idea seeded alongside the content was that the responsible thing was to sit quietly with this information and let it shape perception without giving you the opportunity to respond. Because your response is exactly what the lie cannot survive. The moment your actual voice enters the room, the fabricated version has to compete with the real one, and the real one wins every time. Your opposition tried to ensure the lie ran unopposed. Your awareness right now is the direct counter to everything that strategy was designed to accomplish. When someone in your circle eventually tells you what they received, and someone will, because loyalty to you is stronger than the instruction to stay silent, do not punish them for the delay. The people in your middle distance who sat with that content before bringing it to you were not betraying you. They were doing what people do when they receive information that conflicts with everything they believed about someone they care about. They were processing. They were holding the tension between what they were told and what they actually know about you. The fact that they are still in your life means the tension resolved in your favor. That is not a threat to your relationships. That is proof of how deeply rooted those relationships actually are. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope, their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Someone is positioned at the next significant threshold in your life. This is a person with real weight in the world, not weight performed through status symbols, but the kind of weight that comes from having built something genuine, navigated real complexity, and earned the respect of people who are not easily impressed. This is someone whose alignment with you would not just open a door, but change the geometry of what is possible for you. A resource, a partnership, a connection that would shift your trajectory in ways that would make the opposition's ability to reach you permanently obsolete. Your opposition identified this person. They mapped the emerging relationship, understood the stakes, and then calculated that if perception could be poisoned in that specific mind before your presence had a chance to establish the truth, the connection could be neutralized before it fully formed. That was the chess move. Plant the doubt precisely where the most consequential recognition of your value is about to occur. The entire campaign, the image, the distribution, the whisper operation through your extended circle was coordinated to arrive in that specific mind as the first version of your story. The goal was that when you showed up in full as yourself, a filter would already be running. A hesitation would already be installed. A reason to pause before the full recognition could land would already be sitting there, doing its quiet work. Now understand why it fails. The person at that threshold has not become significant in the world by being easily misled. That person has encountered fabricated narratives before, has felt the specific difference between something that arrives clean and something that arrives too conveniently packaged, and has developed a sensitivity to the emotional signature of a lie. Something about the content already registered as constructed. Designed things make discerning people slow down and look again. The moment that person looks again, the moment your actual presence enters the equation, the fabrication has nothing left to stand on. The plan fails because of one variable. Your opposition miscalculated entirely. That variable is you, not your reputation, not your history, not any external quality that can be edited in an image. The actual you, the presence you carry, the way your energy registers in a space before a single word is spoken. That presence cannot be fabricated by someone describing you to another person, and it cannot be replaced by a doctored image. It exists at a frequency that people with real discernment feel before they consciously process it. The person at the threshold of your next chapter has enough experience in the world to feel the difference between what is real and what has been constructed to seem real. When your actual presence enters their field, the way you engage, the quality of attention you bring to a conversation, the groundedness that lives underneath every interaction, it contradicts the fabricated narrative, not through argument, but through the undeniable fact of existing differently than the lie described. Your opposition built the weapon with old data. They modeled a version of you from before, the version that had more visible edges, more reactivity available at the surface, more dependency on external validation, more likelihood of spiraling when pressure increased. That earlier version was the intended target. That version was the one the entire strategy was designed to reach. But that version of you does not exist anymore. You have been doing real internal work, quietly, without an audience, without announcing it or performing it for anyone's benefit. You looked honestly at the parts of yourself that were not working, and you went through the difficulty rather than dressing it up as something already resolved. The result of that work is a quality that does not appear in any credential, but that is felt by every person who encounters you with genuine attention. That quality is groundedness, the specific, unshakable sense that you know who you are and do not require the external world to confirm it. Groundedness cannot be argued against, it cannot be shamed into collapse, it cannot be destabilized from the outside because its source is not on the outside. Your opposition aimed everything at a surface that no longer exists. The weapon landed on empty ground. The internal work you did not just remove the target, it replaced it with something your opposition has no strategy for. When a person does the real work of understanding themselves, when they genuinely process their history rather than performing their healing, what emerges is a specific kind of authority. Not loudness, not aggression, authority. The quiet, grounded certainty of someone who knows exactly where they stand and does not need the room's permission to stand there. That authority has been present in every interaction you have had throughout this entire period. In the conversations where someone tested the water to see if the fabricated story had changed how you see yourself. In the rooms where the subject came up either directly or indirectly and you did not flinch. In the moments where maintaining your composure required real effort and you maintained it anyway. Every one of those moments produced evidence that contradicts the lie, not because you were performing for observers, but because you genuinely are who the lie said you were not. Your opposition needed the weapon to land on someone still being defined by other people's perceptions. Instead, it landed on someone who has already done the work of self-definition. That is the most complete failure a fabricated campaign can suffer. Not exposure, not legal consequence, just landing on someone who was already so rooted in their own truth that the false version had no point of attachment. Your roots are what saved you, and those roots went deeper than anyone watching from the outside could see. There is something you have been doing throughout all of this that deserves to be named clearly, because you may not have fully realized the significance of what you have been demonstrating. You have not reacted publicly. You have not given the loud, visible, emotionally chaotic response that the entire fabricated operation was designed to produce. That composure, held under genuine, sustained pressure, has been communicating something to every person watching this situation more clearly than any direct statement you could have issued. The fabricated campaign was not just designed to create a false impression of you. It was designed to create the conditions under which you would produce a real impression that matched the false one. Screenshots of your reaction in your worst moment, a public confrontation that would make you look like the unstable person the fabrication described, an emotional collapse that would retroactively lend credibility to the lie. That sequence was the completion mechanism. Your reaction was always intended to be the second half of the story, the part that would make the first half feel believable. You did not give it. And in not giving it, you accomplished something no fabricated image could have done on your behalf. You demonstrated in real time, under actual pressure, exactly who you are. The composure you have held is not passivity, it is power. It is the felt signal that you are operating from a foundation that external chaos cannot reach. Every person who has observed you navigate this period, the ally approaching your next chapter, the people in your extended circle who received content about you, has registered the difference between the fabricated narrative and the actual person standing in front of them. That composure is your counter-evidence. It has been working on your behalf the entire time. Not every person becomes the target of a fabricated digital campaign. This specific combination, AI-generated imagery, coordinated distribution, deliberate timing against an emerging high-value relationship, gets deployed only when someone cannot afford for you to be seen accurately. Your accurate visibility is a direct threat to their position, their advantage, or the story they are using to navigate the world. Your accurate visibility must therefore be worth a great deal for someone to go to these particular lengths to prevent it. You have crossed a threshold. This is the moment in a rise when someone becomes visible enough to the world that the people who benefit from their continued obscurity are forced to act. Before this threshold, you were not worth the investment of this kind of operation. You were building, but the building had not yet become consequential enough to trigger this level of response. The fabricated image is evidence that you have moved past that line. You are now close enough to the next significant elevation in your relationships, your resources, your influence, that doing nothing became more dangerous for your opposition than doing something desperate and visible. That calculation only makes sense when the ascent is real, significant, and close enough to touch. And here is what actually happened when the image was circulated. It was supposed to reduce your visibility by contaminating perception in the minds that matter most. Instead, it made more people look at you. When more people look at you clearly, unfiltered by the fabrication, what they see is someone navigating a coordinated attack with the composure and continued forward motion of someone who has already decided who they are. That composure reads as authority. That forward motion reads as certainty. Both of those qualities are precisely what the most important people in your immediate future need to understand about you before your alignment with them deepens. Your opposition put the image out to make you smaller. What it actually did was illuminate you. There is something specific worth naming about the quality that your composure communicates to the person positioned at your next threshold. People who have built real things in the world understand from direct experience that reputation attacks are part of the territory when someone is doing something significant. They have seen competitors reach for fabricated narratives. They have watched people use digital tools to construct a version of events that serves them. What they have also learned, through that same experience, is that the way a person responds to an attack tells you more about their character than the attack ever could. A person who stays grounded, continues building, and refuses to be reduced by what is circulating about them is demonstrating exactly the kind of stability that sustains a real partnership. You have been running that demonstration without realizing it was being evaluated. And the evaluation is going in your favor. The image was not designed randomly. The specific impression it was built to create was chosen with real precision, and identifying exactly what was targeted helps you understand both the sophistication of the attack and the precise reason it fails. Your competence was not the target. Your track record was not the target either, because your results are visible, documented, and do not bend to a fabricated narrative. The only quality that a fabricated image can plausibly attack, the only surface where visual fabrication can create genuine doubt, is your character, specifically your integrity. The image was designed to suggest that the version of you the world sees, reliable, grounded, someone whose word carries weight, is a constructed performance, that underneath the version people respect, a different, more reckless, less trustworthy version exists. Integrity, unlike competence, is invisible in the conventional sense. It does not live in a portfolio or a deliverable. It lives in the accumulated impression people carry of who you are when the stakes are real and no audience is present. That invisibility is what makes it the one quality a fabricated image can attempt to contaminate. Your integrity was targeted because it is the quality that turns access into partnership. Competence opens a door. Integrity is what determines whether you are trusted to walk through it, remain, and build something lasting on the other side. The people at the threshold of your next chapter were not being given a story about your abilities. They were being given a story about whether you can be trusted with what they carry. Here is exactly why it does not work. Fabricated evidence of poor character only lands cleanly when the audience has no prior experience of the actual person. But the people who matter most in your trajectory are not strangers to you. They carry real accumulated, direct experience of who you are in situations with actual stakes. That experience does not evaporate because a single image was constructed to contradict it. Instead, a conflict is created, and a conflict demands resolution. Resolution requires looking carefully at both sides. One side is built from real shared experience across real circumstances. The other is built from pixels and desperation. Your opposition handed the most important people in your life a reason to look at you more carefully, and looking more carefully at you is exactly the outcome that serves you. Every fabricated image, every whispered word placed in the ears of people close to you, every carefully constructed doubt planted in the mind of someone standing at your threshold, all of it carries the signature of its origin. That origin is scarcity, desperation. The particular corrosion that sets in when someone watches another person be chosen for the life they convinced themselves was meant for them. That signature does not vanish when the content leaves the sender's hands. It travels with the content. When it fails to land, when your relationships hold firm, when the doubt dissolves on contact with the real you, when the door opens regardless, that energy has nowhere to go except back toward its source. You are not responsible for what returns to them. You do not need to engineer it, accelerate it, or even pay attention to it. What this situation requires from you is simply that you refuse to collapse. The force that is launched at someone who does not fall reverses on its own. What was designed to discredit you will ultimately discredit the one who designed it. What was fabricated to expose you will eventually expose the fabricator. The digital record that was supposed to follow you through life is the same digital record that documents exactly what was done, how it was done, and by whom. Your most powerful move is to release the weight of this entirely. Not because what was done does not matter, it matters, and it has real consequences, but because carrying the energy of it, even as righteous awareness, costs you resources that belong to your next chapter. You have something important to build. You have a door to walk through and a threshold to cross, and none of that happens while you are carrying something that belongs at the feet of the person who packed it. Drop it. Walk forward. You do not react publicly from emotion. The restraint you have already shown is not a small thing. It is the most strategically significant move you have made throughout this entire situation. The fabricated operation was calibrated around producing a visible, chaotic, emotionally driven response from you that could then become real evidence supporting the fabricated story. Your reaction was always intended to be the second act. Without it, the story has no ending. You are the ending they needed and did not get. Hold that position. You document quietly and without obsession. Note the specifics of what was distributed, to whom, and through which channels. Keep the record clean and organized. What was done to you is not a gray area in most places. Creating and distributing fabricated digital imagery of a real person with intent to damage relationships and reputation is actionable conduct. You do not need to pursue that path immediately or at all. But the record belongs to you, and keeping it is a decision made from self-respect, not retaliation. You invest more of yourself in the real relationships in your life, not less. The instinct when something this invasive happens is to pull back, to protect yourself by creating distance before someone else creates it for you. Resist that instinct completely. The campaign against you was specifically designed to fracture your connections, and the most powerful counter is not defensiveness but presence. Show up more fully as yourself. Be more genuinely available to the people who matter. Let the real texture of who you are become so present in your relationships that a fabricated version has no air left to breathe in them. And then keep building. This is the instruction that contains all the others. Whatever you are constructing, the career, the business, the platform, the life, you do not stop and you do not slow down to look at the fire that was deliberately set behind you. Attention feeds fire. Every step you take forward is a door your opposition failed to close. Every opportunity you accept is proof of a sabotage that did not land. Your forward momentum is not just the response to what was done, it is the entire message. And understand what building means in this context. It does not mean performing busyness for the benefit of observers. It does not mean announcing your progress loudly to drown out what is being said about you. It means continuing the actual work, the real substantive work of becoming who you are designed to be, with the same focus and the same quiet intention you brought to it before any of this started. The opposition only wins if your attention shifts from the work to the war. Keep your attention on the work. The war resolves itself from there. Your opposition set out to expose a secret about you. The goal was to put something into the world that would change how you are perceived, undermine the relationships and opportunities forming around you, and interrupt the ascent that was visibly building underneath your feet. What was actually exposed through the scale of the operation, the technology used, the coordination involved, the deliberate targeting of your most consequential upcoming relationships, is a secret about you that your opposition never intended to confirm. You are the most significant variable in a future that is larger than either you or your opposition can currently see in full. Not because you have already arrived at your destination, but because you are arriving right now, in real time. The ascent is real and close and already felt by everyone paying attention, including the people who have every reason to want it stopped. Your opposition moved with desperation and coordination, not because of what already happened, but because of what they can see coming. They responded to your future, and in responding to it they confirmed it. Chosen ones are not people who move through the world without opposition. They are people who attract opposition that is proportional to what they carry. Small targets draw small responses. The scale of what was mobilized against you is not a measure of your vulnerability, it is a measure of your value. The size of the weapon built against you is your resume, and it is a resume the right people already know how to read. The fabricated image circulated with your face on it did something entirely unintended. It broadcast to everyone watching, including the ally positioned at the threshold of your next chapter, exactly how much you are worth to the people who feel the need to stop you. An ally with real discernment does not see a fabricated campaign and conclude that you are dangerous to know. A person who has navigated the world at any level of real depth sees it and concludes the opposite, that you are exactly the kind of person worth knowing, worth backing, worth walking through the next door alongside. Consider what it means that your opposition studied you carefully enough to know which relationship to target, which timing to choose, and which quality of your character to attempt to damage. Consider the investment that required. Consider that none of that investment makes rational sense unless the return, meaning your continued rise, is genuinely significant. Your opposition did not just confirm your value, they documented it. They created a record of exactly how threatening your growth has become, and they left that record behind in the digital world where it can be traced. The crown was never handed to chosen ones. It was forged in exactly the kind of fire you have been standing in. In the seasons when nobody was watching and nobody was clapping, and the only reason to keep going was the knowing inside you that said keep going. In the decisions you made correctly when making them incorrectly would have been easier, and no one would have known the difference. In the moments when you listened to the quiet voice inside over the loud noise outside, and it turned out the quiet voice was right every time. You came to this knowing something was wrong. Something in you felt the weight of what was moving in the dark. That sensing was not paranoia, and it was not anxiety. Misfiring was the same intelligence that has been redirecting you away from traps before you could see them, making one more adjustment, sending one more signal, pointing you toward one more piece of the full picture. It brought you here because you were ready to see clearly. Seeing clearly means you stop managing the threat from a defensive position and start moving toward your life from a position of complete authority. The moment you understand that the attack was not a danger but a confirmation, not evidence against you but evidence of you, you stop bracing for the next impact and start moving at full speed toward everything that was always meant for you. The signal was right. The knowing was right. You are right.